Silence is Golden. Written and published by Second Genesis. Reprogram your mind for success, one book at a time. Introduction. The Weight of Words. Let me ask you something. Have you ever shared a dream, an idea, something you were deeply excited about, only to watch the energy around it shift? Maybe the person you told didn't react the way you expected. Maybe they brushed it off, questioned it, or even made you doubt yourself. Or worse, something happened, and that dream never got off the ground. You're not alone. This isn't just something that happens to us in modern life, it's an age-old pattern. Take Joseph from the Bible. Here was a young man with a gift, visions of greatness, dreams sent from God. But he made one mistake. He spoke too soon. He told his brothers about his dreams, how one day he would rise above them. Instead of celebrating with him, they seethed with jealousy. His words fanned the flames of resentment, and what followed was betrayal, slavery, and years of hardship, all because he shared something that wasn't meant for everyone's ears. This story carries a deep truth. Not every thought, goal, or vision is meant to be spoken aloud. Words have weight, and when we use them carelessly, when we speak too soon, too much, or to the wrong people, they can shape our reality in ways we never intended. The power of silence. We live in a world that glorifies talking. Social media thrives on oversharing. Workplaces reward the loudest voices in the room, and we're told that speaking up is always the best move. But what if the real power is in knowing when not to speak? Silence isn't about muting yourself, it's about protecting your energy. Every word you speak carries a little bit of that energy, and if you're constantly explaining, justifying, or sharing before something is ready, you're scattering your power. Think of it like this. If you have a candle and you place it in an open field, the wind will snuff it out before it even has a chance to burn bright. But if you shield it, protect it, let it build strength, that flame can grow into something unstoppable. Why this book? This book isn't about keeping quiet all the time. It's about understanding the right time to speak and the wisdom of knowing when to hold back. It's about reclaiming the energy that gets lost in unnecessary words and learning how to wield your voice with intention. Throughout history, some of the most powerful figures didn't dominate rooms with endless chatter. They mastered the art of speaking sparingly, but purposefully. There was a strategist from ancient China whose silence made him feared more than any speech. A 17th century inventor who refused to reveal his ideas until they were fully formed, ensuring no one could steal or weaken them. These stories aren't in the mainstream history books, but they hold lessons we desperately need today. In this book, we're going to explore the hidden power of silence, psychologically, historically, and spiritually. We'll look at why sharing too much can invite resistance, how silence preserves strength, and how you can use it as a tool to navigate life more wisely. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Chapter 1. The Energy of Silence. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift? Maybe it was a conversation that took a sudden turn, or a person whose presence changed the mood without them saying a word. That's because silence carries energy. And most of us don't realize how much power we give away simply by talking too much. We tend to think of words as harmless, just passing thoughts turned into sound. But every time you speak, you're expending energy, mental, emotional, even spiritual. And if you're not careful, that energy gets scattered in all directions, leaving you drained, unfocused, and struggling to move forward. The truth about over-talking. There's something I've noticed about the people who talk the most. They're often the ones who feel the most exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally. It's as if all their thoughts and ideas are leaking out before they have time to solidify. They'll declare their big plans to the world, only to feel unmotivated a few weeks later. Or they'll overshare their struggles, hoping to feel relief, but instead, they feel even more exposed and uncertain. Sound familiar? There's actually a psychological reason for this. Studies have shown that when we talk about our goals before we've taken action, our brains release the same dopamine as if we've already achieved them. In other words, we trick ourselves into feeling like the work is done, so we lose the drive to actually do it. Ancient warriors understood this. There was a general from the Middle Ages, one history barely remembers, who made it a rule never to reveal his military strategies in advance. While other leaders boasted about their upcoming victories, he remained silent. He knew that the moment he spoke his plans aloud, the energy behind them would start to dissipate. And because of that discipline, he won battle after battle, while his rivals fell to their own arrogance. Silence isn't passive. It's active protection for the things that matter most. How silence preserves your strength. Think of your energy like water in a well. Every time you speak, whether it's sharing a dream, explaining yourself unnecessarily, or engaging in pointless conversations, you're drawing from that well. If you keep dipping into it, eventually, it runs dry. But when you learn to hold back, to choose your words carefully, you're conserving that energy. You're letting it build up inside you, giving you more strength to act instead of just talking. This is why some of the most successful people are often the quietest in the room. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they understand that their energy is precious. They know that words spoken too soon can weaken their resolve, invite unnecessary opinions, and even give their power away to the wrong people. Breaking the habit of oversharing. If you're someone who naturally talks a lot, you might be wondering, how do I start practicing this? How do you shift from oversharing to being more intentional with your words? Here are a few simple shifts you can start making right now. Pause before you speak. The next time you feel the urge to share something, especially about your dreams or struggles, pause. Ask yourself, do I need to say this? Or am I just filling space? Be mindful of who you're talking to. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Some people will support you, but others will drain or discourage you. Learn to discern the difference. Write it down instead. If you feel like you need to get something off your chest, try journaling instead of saying it out loud. Writing lets you release thoughts without scattering your energy. Practice the art of mystery. Not everything needs to be explained. Let people wonder. Let your actions speak louder than your words. Final thoughts. Silence isn't emptiness. It's not weakness. It's a tool, a discipline, a way of protecting your energy so you can use it where it matters most. When you stop giving away your thoughts so freely, something shifts inside you. You start feeling more centered, focused, and powerful. You stop chasing validation from others and begin trusting yourself more. And most importantly, you conserve the energy you need to bring your dreams to life. So, the next time you feel the urge to spill your plans, prove a point, or explain yourself unnecessarily, try silence instead. You might be surprised at how much stronger you feel. Chapter 2. The Danger of Revealing Too Much. Have you ever shared something, maybe a dream, a relationship, or a big opportunity, only to feel like it started slipping away the moment the words left your mouth? It's almost as if speaking about it too soon weakened it, like a delicate flower exposed to too much wind before it had the chance to bloom. This isn't just in your head. There's real wisdom in keeping certain things private, not out of fear, but out of protection. Because the truth is, not everyone who listens has your best interests at heart. And even when they mean well, their reactions, skepticism, doubt, even jealousy, can plant seeds of uncertainty that weren't there before. Sometimes the simple act of saying something out loud shifts the energy around it, making it harder to manifest. When words invite resistance. One of history's forgotten cautionary tales is that of a young philosopher from 18th century Europe. He was brilliant, passionate, and had an idea he was convinced would change the world. Excited, he shared it with a group of fellow intellectuals, people he admired, people he thought would support him. But instead of encouragement, he was met with skepticism. They questioned his idea, poked holes in his vision, and laughed off his enthusiasm. He left the conversation doubting himself. And that one moment of doubt snowballed into years of hesitation. He never pursued his work, and his idea, something that could have revolutionized scientific thought, was eventually published decades later by someone else. His mistake? Speaking before his foundation was strong enough to withstand the weight of other people's opinions. Not every idea is ready to be shared. Not every goal is ready for public viewing. Why people react the way they do. We like to believe that people will always be happy for us when we share good news. But in reality, human nature is complicated. When you tell someone about a dream or a plan, one of three things will usually happen. Support. They believe in you and encourage you. This is rare, but valuable. Doubt. They question your ability, sometimes out of their own fears and limitations. Jealousy. They feel threatened because your ambition reminds them of what they haven't done. And the tricky part? Sometimes doubt and jealousy disguise themselves as concern or practical advice. Someone might say, "Are you sure you want to do that? That sounds risky." Or, "I heard that doesn't work for most people." Even if they mean well, those words have weight, and if you're not careful, they can take root in your mind and become self-doubt. This is why silence isn't secrecy, it's strategy. The power of the hidden seed. Think of an oak tree. When it first begins to grow, it's hidden underground. No one sees it. No one knows it exists. But that's what allows it to develop strong roots. If someone were to dig it up too soon, it wouldn't survive. Your goals, your dreams, your personal growth, they're the same way. They need time to grow in private before they can stand strong in public. There's an old African proverb that says, "If you want your corn to grow, don't let too many people walk through your field." Some things are meant to be nurtured quietly. What to keep private until it's time. So, what are the things you should protect with silence? Here are a few. Your big goals. Not everyone needs to know what you're working on. Let your results speak louder than your words. Your love life. The happiest relationships are often the ones with the fewest outside opinions. Your personal struggles. Not every battle needs an audience. Some healing happens best in solitude. Your financial plans. Money, like energy, flows differently when it's not being over-discussed. Your next move. A quiet strategy is often the most powerful one. This isn't about being secretive. It's about being intentional. Final thoughts. Let silence protect you. Speaking too soon can invite doubt. It can bring in unnecessary resistance. It can give people a chance to influence something that was never meant for their hands. But when you learn to protect your words, you also protect your energy, your confidence, and your ability to move forward without distraction. So, the next time you feel the urge to share something, pause. Ask yourself, does this need to be spoken right now? Or does it need time to grow in silence? Because some things, like the strongest roots, do their best work underground. Chapter 3. Silence as a tool of influence. Have you ever noticed that the most powerful person in the room is often the quietest? There's something magnetic about a person who listens more than they speak, someone who holds their words like they're valuable, because they are. In a world where everyone is rushing to be heard, silence stands out. It commands attention, sparks curiosity, and most importantly, gives you control over any situation. Silence isn't weakness, it's influence. And those who master it understand something most people don't. The less you say, the more power you hold. The man who conquered with silence. There was a military leader from the early 1600s, barely mentioned in mainstream history books, who understood this well. Unlike his rivals, he rarely spoke in strategy meetings. He listened, he observed, and when he did finally speak, his words carried so much weight that even kings leaned in to listen. His soldiers, too, respected his silence. When they faced battle, he didn't give long-winded speeches or dramatic orders. He would simply look at his men, give a short nod, and they knew exactly what to do. His ability to hold silence made him unpredictable. People never knew what he was thinking, what he would do next, and that made him dangerous. His enemies, on the other hand, talked too much. They made public declarations of war before they were ready. They boasted about their victories before they'd fully secured them. And time after time, they lost battles they should have won, simply because they revealed too much. This is a pattern throughout history. The ones who talk the most often lose the advantage. The ones who master silence, they stay in control. Why people fear silence. We live in a culture that fears silence. People rush to fill it, to smooth it over, to make conversations feel comfortable. But have you ever considered why silence makes people so uneasy? It's because silence forces truth to the surface. Think about the last time you asked someone a difficult question and just waited. No interruptions, no reassurances, just silence. Most people can't handle that kind of pressure. They start rambling, over-explaining, sometimes even revealing things they didn't mean to say. Silence draws out truth in a way that words never can. This is why great negotiators use silence as a weapon. Instead of rushing to fill a gap in conversation, they let the other person squirm. They let the discomfort build. And more often than not, the other person caves first, offering more information, making unnecessary concessions, or weakening their own position. In every conversation, the one who speaks the least has the most power. How to use silence to your advantage. If you're used to talking a lot, this might feel unnatural at first. But once you get comfortable with silence, you'll start to notice a shift in how people respond to you. Here's how you can start using silence strategically. 1. Pause before you speak. Most people talk reflexively. Someone asks a question, and they feel the need to answer immediately. But powerful people pause. They take a breath. They let the weight of silence settle before responding. That small moment of hesitation does two things. It makes you look more thoughtful and intentional. It forces the other person to wonder what you're thinking. 2. Don't reveal your thoughts. Too soon. If you're working on something big, resist the urge to announce it. Let your actions reveal it when the time is right. There's a reason successful people often work in silence before making big moves. It keeps them focused, and it prevents outside forces from interfering. 3. Use silence in conflict. When someone is upset or trying to provoke you, silence is your best defense. Instead of reacting immediately, try staying quiet. Let them say everything they need to say. Often, they'll run out of steam, and in that silence, they'll start to hear how irrational they sound. Silence diffuses anger. It makes you look composed, unbothered, in control, and that alone shifts the power dynamic. 4. Be mysterious. Mystery is attractive, not just in relationships, but in life. When you're constantly talking, constantly explaining, you become predictable. But when you leave things unsaid, people lean in. They want to know more. Think of the most charismatic people you know. Chances are, they don't over-explain themselves. They don't feel the need to prove anything. And that's exactly what makes them so compelling. Final thoughts. Master the power of silence. Silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's a presence in itself, a force that can shift conversations, influence decisions, and protect your energy. The next time you find yourself in a situation where you'd normally talk too much, whether it's a disagreement, a business meeting, or a personal conversation, pause. Hold back. Let silence do the work for you. Because sometimes, saying nothing at all is the most powerful thing you can do. Chapter 4. How talking too much derails your goals. Have you ever noticed that the more you talk about a goal, the harder it seems to reach? Maybe you've experienced it yourself. You get excited about an idea, share it with friends or family, and suddenly, the momentum disappears. You lose motivation. The fire that was burning inside you dims. Why does this happen? Because when we talk too much about what we plan to do, our brain gets a false sense of accomplishment. It's almost as if we've already done the work, and that makes us less likely to follow through. This isn't just theory. It's backed by science. Studies have shown that when people announce their goals publicly, their brains release dopamine, the same feel-good chemical that comes from actually achieving something. In other words, talking about your goal tricks your brain into feeling like the work is already done. And once that feeling is satisfied, the drive to take action fades. So, if you're serious about making things happen, one of the best things you can do is keep your plans to yourself. The general who lost his war to his own words. There was a military leader in 19th century Europe, brilliant, strategic, and bold. But he had one fatal flaw. He couldn't stop talking about his victories before they happened. Before every battle, he would make grand declarations, boasting about his future conquests. His enemies listened, studied his words, and adjusted their tactics. By the time the actual battles arrived, they already knew what was coming. He lost more than he won, not because he lacked skill, but because he lacked discipline over his words. Contrast that with another figure in history, a silent warrior from the same era who spoke only when necessary. His troops moved in secrecy, his plans were never leaked, and his enemies never knew his next move. He won battle after battle, while his louder rivals fell. The lesson? Talking too much can become a self-sabotaging habit. Why sharing too much scatters your energy. Think of your energy like a bank account. Every time you speak about your goals, especially before taking action, you're making a withdrawal. You're spending that energy before it's actually needed. Here's what happens when you overshare your plans. You invite unnecessary opinions. People will have something to say, and not all of it will be helpful. Even well-meaning advice can plant doubt in your mind. You create pressure that drains motivation. Once you tell people your plans, you might start feeling like you have to prove something. Instead of working on the goal itself, you waste energy managing expectations. You shift from doing to performing. When you talk too much about what you will do, your mind focuses on how you're perceived rather than on the work that needs to be done. The discipline of silent progress. There's an old saying, move in silence and let success make the noise. Some of the most successful people, entrepreneurs, artists, inventors, follow this principle religiously. They work behind the scenes, away from the spotlight, building something solid before unveiling it to the world. If you want to start using silence as a tool for achieving your goals, here's how. 1. Work first, talk later. Resist the urge to announce your goals prematurely. If you feel excited about something, channel that excitement into action instead of words. 2. Set private milestones. Instead of seeking external validation, create small personal checkpoints to track your progress. Celebrate privately. Let the satisfaction come from the work, not from outside recognition. 3. Protect your dreams from negativity. Not everyone will understand your vision. Some people will doubt you. Others will project their own fears onto you. Silence acts as a shield. It keeps negativity out and momentum in. 4th, let results speak for themselves. Nothing is more powerful than a silent achiever. When you show up with the finished product, whether it's a new business, a personal transformation, or a creative project, people will take notice. And the best part? You won't have wasted energy on unnecessary talk along the way. Final thoughts. The strength in holding back. Not every goal needs a public announcement. Not every dream needs outside validation. When you keep your ambitions to yourself, you're not hiding. You're protecting. You're preserving your energy. You're eliminating distractions. You're making sure that when you do speak, it's not about what you plan to do, but about what you've already done. So the next time you feel the urge to tell the world about your next big move, pause. Keep it close. Work in silence. And when the time is right, let success speak for you. Chapter 5. The Spiritual Power of Silence. Have you ever sat in complete silence, not just the absence of noise, but true, intentional stillness? It's rare in today's world. Everywhere we go, there's noise, conversations, notifications, background music, distractions. But there's something powerful, almost sacred, about choosing silence. It's in those quiet spaces that we hear things we never could in the middle of the noise. Throughout history, the most spiritually grounded people have understood this. They knew that silence wasn't just about holding back words. It was about deepening their connection to themselves, to wisdom, and to God. And when you learn how to embrace silence, it transforms your mind, your energy, and your life. The monks who built their strength in silence. There's a little-known story about a group of monks in the early centuries of Christianity who lived in complete silence for years at a time. They weren't forced into it. They chose it. Why? Because they believed that the more they spoke, the less they could hear the voice of God. They understood something that modern life often makes us forget. Silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. And here's the surprising part. Far from making them weak or passive, this practice made them incredibly strong. Their clarity was unmatched, their wisdom profound. Even when they finally did speak, their words carried a power that could move people's hearts. Contrast that with today's world, where people talk endlessly, yet their words often mean so little. The more noise we create, the harder it is to hear what truly matters. Silence as a form of strength. Many think that speaking up is the ultimate form of power, and sometimes it is. But knowing when not to speak is just as powerful, if not more. The Bible itself speaks about the wisdom of silence. Even fools are thought wise if they keep silent, and discerning if they hold their tongues. Proverbs 17:28. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Silence creates space for understanding, for discernment, for spiritual strength. Have you ever regretted something you said in the heat of the moment? Have you ever wished you had paused before reacting? That's because words spoken without thought can become weapons against ourselves and others. But when you develop the habit of silence, you train yourself to listen before reacting, to reflect before responding, to make space for wisdom instead of impulsivity. Why talking too much weakens your spirit? Every word you speak carries energy, and when we constantly pour out words, especially in gossip, complaints, or unnecessary chatter, we weaken ourselves spiritually. Gossip drains you. Even if you think it's harmless, engaging in gossip lowers your vibration. It shifts your focus away from things that matter. Complaining keeps you stuck. The more we speak negativity, the more we reinforce it in our minds. Silence, on the other hand, allows us to shift perspective before we speak. Over-explaining gives away power. When you constantly feel the need to justify or defend yourself, you're seeking validation instead of standing firm in quiet confidence. Have you ever noticed that the wisest people don't waste their breath on unnecessary explanations? They don't get caught up in proving themselves. They let their presence, their actions, and their carefully chosen words do the talking. How to use silence for spiritual growth. 1. Practice the power of the pause. Before speaking, take a breath. Ask yourself, do I really need to say this? Is this adding to the conversation, or am I just speaking to fill the space? 2. Spend time in intentional stillness. Set aside time each day for silence, not just in your surroundings, but in your heart. Whether through prayer, meditation, or quiet reflection, make space for divine wisdom to flow in. 3. Use silence as a response. When someone provokes you, don't rush to defend yourself. When a situation feels tense, don't add to the noise. Learn to let silence speak for you. 4. Speak only what is necessary and true. Jesus himself spoke with intention, never wasting words. Every time he opened his mouth, there was purpose behind it. If we learn to do the same, our words will have far more impact. Final thoughts. Learning to hear in the silence. Silence is where clarity is found. It's where wisdom grows. It's where we reconnect with God, with our true selves, and with the things that truly matter. The world may try to convince you that being loud, constantly expressing every thought, and filling every moment with words is the way to live. But real strength is found in restraint. So today, instead of rushing to fill the silence, sit with it. Listen. Because the most important things in life are often heard not in the noise, but in the quiet. Chapter 6. Balancing silence and speech. If silence is so powerful, does that mean we should never speak? Should we move through life withholding our words, keeping everything inside? Of course not. Silence is a tool, but so is speech. The key is knowing when to use each one. There's a balance, a rhythm, between knowing when to stay quiet and when to speak up. Those who master it carry a presence that demands respect. Their words are not wasted, their silence is not weakness, and their speech carries weight because it is used with intention. In this final chapter, we'll explore how to strike that balance, how to use both silence and speech to protect your energy, command respect, and make sure that when you do speak, people listen. The woman who spoke just enough. There was a woman in 19th century America, largely forgotten by history, who had an extraordinary gift. She was neither a politician nor a ruler, yet when she spoke, even powerful men stopped to listen. She had a simple philosophy: speak only when necessary, and make every word count. She never wasted her breath on trivial matters. She never felt the need to prove herself in every conversation. And because of this, when she did choose to speak, people leaned in. Her words had impact because they weren't constantly being thrown around. She negotiated peace agreements, influenced leaders, and shaped conversations simply by understanding that silence and speech should work together, not against each other. And that's a lesson we all need today. When to hold your tongue, when to speak. So, how do you know when silence is the right choice and when it's time to speak? Here's a guide to help you navigate this balance. 1. Stay silent. When emotions are high, when you're angry, overwhelmed, or frustrated, silence is your best defense. Words spoken in a heated moment are rarely wise, and often they create damage that can't be undone. Instead, step back. Let silence create space for clarity. Later, when emotions settle, you can choose words that actually serve the situation. 2. Speak when truth needs to be heard. Silence is powerful, but there are moments when speaking is necessary. There will be times when you need to stand up for yourself, defend someone who has no voice, or share wisdom that others need to hear. The difference is, intentional speakers wait for the right moment. They don't speak just to be heard. They speak to make a difference. 3. Be silent about your plans, but speak when action is needed. As we discussed earlier, talking too much about your dreams can drain your motivation. But once you're in motion, once you've built something solid, then you can speak with authority. Example: a person who constantly talks about starting a business but never does anything loses credibility. But someone who works in silence, builds something real, and then speaks about it, they are respected. 4. Use silence to read the room. Have you ever walked into a meeting or a family gathering and felt like you didn't quite know what was going on beneath the surface? Most people jump in, filling the space with words, trying to control the room. But the truly perceptive ones? They listen first. They observe. They pick up on body language, tone, and unspoken tension. Then, when they do speak, they do it with awareness, knowing exactly what the situation calls for. The secret to making your words more powerful. One of the greatest benefits of speaking less is that when you do speak, people listen. Think about someone you know who talks constantly. Do you hang on to their every word? Probably not. Now think of someone who rarely speaks, but when they do, it's something insightful, funny, or meaningful. Their words hold value because they aren't given away freely. If you want to be respected, if you want your words to have real impact, start practicing intentional speech. Here's how. Pause before you speak. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Speak in fewer words. The more concise you are, the more people will pay attention. Use silence as part of your conversation. Don't rush to fill every gap. Sometimes silence draws people in more than words do. Final thoughts. The art of speaking with intention. Mastering the balance between silence and speech is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. It will protect your energy, sharpen your wisdom, and make your presence more powerful. So the next time you find yourself about to speak, pause. Ask yourself, am I speaking out of habit or out of purpose? Will my words add value, or would silence be more powerful? Is this the right time, the right place, and the right audience for what I'm about to say? Because in the end, it's not about how much you say. It's about how much meaning is behind your words. And that is the true power of keeping your words intentional. Chapter 7. The Gold in Silence. We've spent this journey exploring the power of silence, how it protects your energy, strengthens your influence, deepens your spirituality, and helps you achieve your goals. But now comes the most important question. How do you live this out in your daily life? Because silence isn't just an idea, it's a practice. And like any practice, it takes time, awareness, and discipline. In this final chapter, we'll bring everything together, showing you how to apply the wisdom of silence in a world that constantly demands your words. The man who built his success in silence. In the late 1800s, there was a self-made businessman who rose from poverty to extraordinary wealth. But what set him apart wasn't just his work ethic or intelligence, it was his ability to keep quiet when it mattered most. While others were boasting about their ventures, seeking attention, and revealing their strategies, he moved in complete silence. He built his empire without announcing his plans, making every move before anyone even realized what he was doing. By the time the world caught up, he was already ahead. His competitors, on the other hand, made the mistake of talking too much. They revealed their strategies too soon, invited unnecessary competition, and often lost deals before they even had a chance to close them. The lesson: silence isn't just golden, it's a competitive advantage. How to cultivate the habit of silence. If you want to harness the power of silence in your own life, start with these simple but transformative shifts. 1. Stop explaining yourself. One of the biggest energy leaks is over-explaining, feeling like you need to justify your choices, defend your actions, or prove your worth. But here's the truth. Not everyone deserves an explanation. People who misunderstand you want to misunderstand you. Silence often says more than any justification ever could. The next time you feel the urge to explain yourself unnecessarily, pause. Let your actions, your presence, and your consistency speak for you. 2. Keep your next move private. Before making an important decision, whether in business, relationships, or personal growth, practice moving in silence. If you're starting a new project, don't announce it. Build it. If you're making a life change, don't seek permission. Just do it. If you're working toward a big goal, don't share every step. Let the results speak. Your dreams deserve protection, not an audience. 3. Master the art of the pause. One of the most powerful tools you have in any conversation is the pause. In negotiations, a well-timed pause makes the other person nervous, often leading them to reveal more than they intended. In arguments, a pause can diffuse tension, showing strength instead of weakness. In personal conversations, a pause forces people to truly listen, rather than just waiting for their turn to speak. Try this. The next time someone asks you a question, pause for 3 seconds before answering. Watch how much more intentional your response becomes. 4. Be selective with who gets access to you. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, emotions, or plans. Silence helps you create healthy boundaries with people who drain your energy with negativity or gossip, always seek to challenge or undermine you, are more interested in talking about your life than supporting it. When you stop oversharing, you'll notice something interesting. People start respecting you more. The silent path to inner peace. Beyond all the external benefits, silence is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. It helps you hear your own thoughts more clearly. It allows you to connect more deeply with God and your inner wisdom. It frees you from the constant need for approval, validation, or reaction. In the stillness, clarity comes. In the quiet, strength builds. In the absence of unnecessary words, real wisdom grows. Final thoughts. When you speak, let it matter. Silence is powerful, but so are words, when used with intention. The goal is not to never speak, but to speak less, but better. To make sure that when you do choose to speak, your words carry weight, meaning, and purpose. So, as you move forward, ask yourself, do my words add value, or am I speaking out of habit? Am I using silence to protect my energy and goals? Do I truly need to say this, or would silence serve me better? Because in the end, the most powerful people are not the ones who talk the most. They are the ones who understand that silence is not empty. It is full of power, wisdom, and gold. Conclusion. The power of intentional silence. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this book, it's this. Silence is not weakness. It's power. It's the power to protect your energy, to move with intention, to let your actions speak louder than your words. We live in a world that rewards noise. Social media thrives on oversharing. Workplaces glorify the loudest voices. Conversations are often filled with people speaking, but few truly listening. And yet, the most powerful, respected, and successful people throughout history have always understood the value of holding back. They knew that sharing their plans too soon could scatter their focus. They recognized that unnecessary talking drains energy and invites resistance. They mastered the ability to listen, observe, and only speak when their words truly mattered. And now, you do too. Moving forward. How to live this truth. Practicing silence in a noisy world isn't always easy. It requires discipline, awareness, restraint. But once you master it, everything changes. Here's how you can start applying this wisdom to your life today. Protect your dreams. Let your actions speak before your words do. Stop over-explaining. Not everyone deserves an explanation. Use silence to command respect. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. Listen more than you talk. There's power in observation. Let silence be your response. Not everything needs a reaction. And most importantly, trust the stillness. Because in the silence, you'll find clarity, strength, and a presence that speaks louder than words ever could. So, as you move forward, remember this. You don't need to prove yourself with words. You don't need to seek validation from others. You don't need to explain, justify, or overshare. You only need to focus, move with intention, and let your silence do the work for you. Because the truth is, and always has been, silence is golden. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to Second Genesis, where we help you reprogram your mind for success, one book at a time. Share this with someone who needs it, and let's grow together in wisdom.